I never thought I'd be the kind of person to air family drama online, but grief changes you. It makes you do things you'd never imagined. When my parents died 3 weeks ago in that car accident on Route 66, I became an orphan at 32. Their deaths were sudden. A truck driver fell asleep at the wheel, crossed the median, and that was it. No goodbyes, no final words of wisdom. Just silence. Mom and Dad had been married for 40 years. High school sweethearts from a small town in Michigan who moved to Phoenix for Dad's engineering job before I was born. They weren't perfect, but they were mine. Dad with his collection of vintage baseball cards, and Mom with her garden that somehow thrived in the Arizona heat. They built a life together, a good one. The day of the will reading arrived with Arizona's merciless summer sun beating down. I chose a black dress that Mom had always complimented, applied minimal makeup to hide the dark circles under my eyes, and drove to Attorney Richard Summers' office in downtown Phoenix. The building was one of those sleek glass structures that reflected the desert landscape, making it seem like you could step through a doorway and right into a mirage. My brother Marcus was already there when I arrived. We hadn't spoken much, since the funeral. He lived in Seattle now, with his wife Vanessa and their 2 kids. He'd built a successful tech startup and only came back to Phoenix for holidays and, well, funerals. "Hey, Emma," he said, standing awkwardly in the reception area. His suit looked expensive, his watch even more so. "Hi, Marcus." I didn't know what else to say. What do you say to someone who shares your DNA, your childhood memories, and now, your orphaned status? Richard welcomed us into his office, all mahogany and leather with framed law degrees on the wall. The air conditioning was cranked so high I shivered, despite the 105-degree heat outside. "Thank you both for coming," Richard began, adjusting his glasses. "I know this is a difficult time. Your parents were very dear clients of mine for many years." I nodded, my throat tight. Marcus sat perfectly still, his face unreadable. "Before we begin the formal reading, your mother left specific instructions that you each receive these envelopes first." Richard reached into a drawer and pulled out 2 sealed envelopes, handing one to each of us. Mine had Emma written on it in Mom's elegant handwriting. I ran my finger over the ink, imagining her hand forming the letters of my name one last time. "Should we open them now?" I asked. Richard nodded. That was her wish. I carefully broke the seal and pulled out a single sheet of cream-colored stationery. As I unfolded it, a small key fell into my lap. I picked it up, confused, then began to read. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. There are things you need to know that I couldn't tell you while I was alive. The key enclosed opens the safe in my closet. The combination is your birthday. Inside, you'll find documents that explain everything. Emma, I'm so sorry, but you've been cut from the will. Your father insisted. The reasons are explained in those documents. Marcus will inherit everything. I fought against this decision, but in the end, I had to respect your father's wishes. He had his reasons, which you'll understand once you read what's in the safe. I've always loved you, even when I couldn't show it the way you needed. Mom." The room spun. Cut from the will. My hands shook as I reread the letter, certain I'd misunderstood. I looked up to see Marcus staring at his own letter, his face pale. "What does yours say?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He hesitated, then handed it to me. His was longer, more detailed, explaining that he would inherit their house, savings accounts, investments, everything. And at the bottom, "Take care of Emma if you can, but remember what your father told you about her. Be careful." Be careful? Of what? Of me? Richard cleared his throat. "I can now proceed with the formal reading if you're both ready." I wasn't ready. Nothing made sense. "I need to go to their house," I said, standing abruptly. "I need to see what's in that safe." "Emma, wait." Marcus called as I headed for the door. "Let's do this properly. We can go together after... What, Marcus? After you officially get everything while I get nothing? After we pretend this is normal?" My voice rose with each word. "Did you know about this?" His hesitation was all the answer I needed. I don't remember leaving the office or driving to my parents' house. My mind was a tornado of confusion, hurt, and anger. What had I done to deserve this? What possible explanation could there be in that safe? As I pulled into the driveway of the ranch-style home where I'd grown up, a plan formed in my mind. If my family had secrets they'd kept from me my entire life, then maybe it was time for those secrets to see the light of day. I wasn't going to open that safe in private. No, the world was going to witness whatever truth lay inside. With trembling hands, I took out my phone and opened the live streaming app I'd downloaded months ago, but never used. "Going live in 10. I typed as a caption. "Family secrets revealed. Watch as I find out why my parents cut me out of their will." It was impulsive. It was probably stupid. But in that moment, it felt like the only power I had left. The red light on my phone blinked as the live stream connected. 5 viewers. 10. 20. I propped the phone against a lamp in my parents' bedroom and stepped back so the camera could capture me in the closet where Mom's safe was hidden. "Hi, everyone," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "My name is Emma Winters. My parents died 3 weeks ago, and I just found out they cut me out of their will completely. According to this letter from my mom." I held up the cream-colored paper. "There's something in this safe that explains why." I moved to the closet, pushing aside Mom's neatly hung blouses and dresses that still smelled faintly of her perfume. Chanel No. 5, the only fragrance she'd worn for as long as I could remember. Behind her clothes, built into the wall, was a small safe I'd known about but never paid much attention to. I'd always assumed it held jewelry or important papers, nothing mysterious. My hands shook as I inserted the key and punched in my birthday, 071592. The lock clicked, and the door swung open. Inside was a manila envelope and a small wooden box. I took them both out and sat on the edge of my parents' bed, the same bed where Mom had read me stories when I was little, where Dad had sat to talk me through my first heartbreak at 16. "Okay," I said to the camera, now showing over 100 viewers. Someone from my contact list must have shared the link. "Let's see what was so important that my parents decided I didn't deserve any inheritance." I opened the envelope first. Inside were several documents. The top one was a birth certificate. Mine. Emma Louise Winters, born July 15, 1992. Parents: Margaret and Robert Winters. "This is just my birth certificate," I said, confused. I flipped to the next document and froze. It was another birth certificate. Emma Louise Johnson, same birth date. Parents: Teresa Johnson and unknown. "What the hell?" I whispered, looking between the two certificates. Same birthday, same first and middle name, different last name, different parents. The next document was a legal adoption paper. My parents, the people I'd called Mom and Dad my entire life, had adopted me when I was 6 months old. I was adopted. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. 32 years, and they'd never told me. Not once. The livestream comments were exploding now. "OMG. Plot twist. Are you okay?" I ignored them and kept reading. The next papers were newspaper clippings from a small Ohio town called Millfield. Headlines jumped out at me. "Local woman found dead. Infant daughter survives. Police suspect foul play in Johnson murder. Baby Emma to be placed in foster care as investigation continues. My biological mother had been murdered. I'd been a baby without a family, a case number in the system." A handwritten letter was next, in Dad's, Robert's, precise engineer's handwriting. "To whoever finds this after our deaths, Emma is not our biological daughter. We adopted her in 1993 after her mother, Teresa Johnson, was murdered in Ohio. The case was never solved. Emma's biological father was unknown, not listed on her birth certificate. We loved Emma as our own from the moment we brought her home. We never told her the truth because we wanted to protect her. But as she grew older, we noticed troubling signs. Her temper, her tendency to lie, the incidents in high school. When she was 18, we hired a private investigator to look into Teresa Johnson's murder. What he discovered disturbed us deeply. Teresa had been involved with dangerous people. There were rumors that Emma's biological father was a man connected to organized crime in Cleveland. The investigator found genetic markers in Emma's medical records that matched those of a known family of criminals. The science wasn't conclusive, but it was enough to frighten us. We've kept this information secret to protect both Emma and ourselves. But if you're reading this, we're gone, and you need to know the truth. We've chosen to leave our estate to Marcus to ensure our hard-earned money doesn't end up funding criminal activities if Emma's biological tendencies emerge. We hope we're wrong. We hope Emma lives a normal, law-abiding life. But we couldn't take the chance with our legacy. Robert Winters. The letter slipped from my fingers to the floor. Criminal tendencies? Genetic markers? They cut me out of the will because they thought I might be genetically predisposed to crime. My mind raced back to what he'd called the incidents in high school. My shoplifting phase at 16, a stupid teenage rebellion that resulted in community service. The time I'd punched Bridget Miller after she'd spread rumors about me sleeping with the entire basketball team. Was that what Dad meant? Normal teenage mistakes reinterpreted through a lens of fear about my unknown genetics? I looked up at the camera, suddenly remembering I had an audience. The viewer count had climbed to over 500. They never told me. I was adopted, I said, my voice cracking. They raised me for 32 years, and they were so afraid I might have criminal genes that they cut me out of the will. A bitter laugh escaped me. I got caught shoplifting lip gloss when I was 16, and apparently that confirmed their fears that I was destined to become a mafia boss or something. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Marcus. I declined it and continued with the live stream. "Let's see what's in this box," I said, picking up the wooden container I'd taken from the safe. It was small, about the size of a thick paperback book, with a simple brass latch. Inside was a baby bracelet with Baby Girl Johnson printed on it, a small pink hat, and a faded photograph of a young woman holding a newborn. She had my eyes, my nose, Teresa Johnson, my birth mother. Beneath these items was a USB drive labeled PI report and a folded piece of paper. I opened it to find a handwritten note in a flowing script I didn't recognize. To the adoptive parents of my daughter Emma, if you're reading this, I've entrusted my precious girl to your care, because I believe you can give her what I cannot. Safety, stability, love without fear. Please tell her about me when she's old enough to understand. Tell her I loved her more than my own life. Tell her I'm sorry I couldn't be stronger, braver, better for her. And please, watch over her. Her father doesn't know about her, and it must stay that way. He's a dangerous man. If he ever found out about Emma, I fear what he might do. Either to claim her or to eliminate what he would see as a liability. With eternal gratitude, Teresa. I stared at the note, written by a dead woman who had given birth to me, who had tried to protect me even as she put me up for adoption. A woman who had been murdered shortly after writing these words. The doorbell rang, startling me out of my thoughts. Through the window, I could see Marcus's rental car in the driveway. "It's my brother," I told the live stream viewers. "The biological son, the one who gets everything." I wasn't ready to face him yet. Not until I understood more. I grabbed the USB drive and my phone, leaving the camera running. "I need to see what's on this drive," I told the viewers. "Let's go to the office." My parents' home office was unchanged from when I'd last visited. Dad's meticulously organized desk on one side, Mom's more creative chaos on the other. I sat at Dad's desk and plugged the USB drive into his computer. The drive contained a single PDF file labeled Johnson Case. I opened it to find a detailed report from Precision Investigations, dated 2010, the year I turned 18. As the file loaded, I heard the sound of a key in the front door. Marcus had used his key to get in. "Emma?" he called. "Are you here? We need to talk." I locked the office door and turned back to the screen. The private investigator's report opened with a summary. Investigation into the 1992 murder of Teresa Johnson, 23, of Millfield, Ohio, and potential paternity of surviving infant Emma Louise Johnson, now Emma Louise Winters. What followed was a detailed account of my biological mother's life and death. Teresa had been a nursing student, working nights at a Cleveland bar called The Anchor to pay for school. According to witnesses, a regular customer, described as a well-dressed man in his 40s, had taken a special interest in her. They'd begun a relationship that Teresa had kept largely private. 3 months later, she was pregnant. The report included police photos of Teresa's apartment after her murder, blood-spattered walls, overturned furniture, signs of a struggle. She'd been stabbed multiple times, a crime of passion or rage rather than a professional hit. The prime suspect had been the unknown man from the bar, presumed to be my biological father. But without a name or solid description, the police investigation had stalled. The case had gone cold within months. The PI had gone further than the police, tracking down former employees and patrons of The Anchor. One bartender remembered the man's name as Michael or Mike, possibly with the last name Castellano or Catalano. This had led the investigator to research the Catalano family of Cleveland, a family with known ties to organized crime in the 1980s and 90s. Marcus knocked on the office door. "Emma, I know you're in there. Please, we need to talk about this." I ignored him and continued reading. The report included a grainy surveillance photo from The Anchor, showing a man with his arm around Teresa. His face wasn't clearly visible, but there was something familiar about his profile that made my stomach twist. The final pages of the report contained the most disturbing information. The investigator had somehow obtained access to my medical records and compared genetic markers with known Catalano family members. There were similarities. Not definitive proof, but enough to suggest a possible relation. The report concluded, while not conclusive, evidence suggests Emma Winters may be the biological daughter of Michael Catalano, who was a mid-level member of the Catalano crime family. After Teresa Johnson's murder, Michael disappeared from Cleveland. Current whereabouts unknown. Recommend the Winters family maintain adoption secrecy to protect Emma from potential Catalano family interest. I sat back, stunned. This was why they'd cut me out of the will, because some PI had made a tenuous connection between me and a crime family. "Emma!" Marcus's voice was louder now, the doorknob rattling. "What are you doing in there? Are you okay?" I looked at my phone, still live streaming. The viewer count had passed 2,000. People from all over were watching my life implode in real time. "I'm coming in, Emma." I heard the sound of something hard hitting the door. Marcus was trying to break it down. I stood up, grabbed my phone, and faced the camera, directly. "So there you have it," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. My parents adopted me after my biological mother was murdered. They never told me. They hired a PI when I was 18 who made some half-baked connection between me and a crime family. And based on that, plus some teenage rebellious behavior that literally every kid goes through, they decided I had criminal tendencies and cut me out of their will. The door splintered as Marcus forced it open. He stood in the doorway, panting slightly from the exertion. "Emma, what the hell are you doing?" he asked, then noticed my phone. "Are you recording this?" "Live streaming, actually," I replied. "Say hi to your audience, Marcus. Over 2,000 people watching right now. His face paled. Turn that off. Now. Why? Afraid people will see what kind of family we really are? A family that keeps massive secrets? A family that judges a daughter based on who they think her biological father might be? You don't understand, Marcus said, stepping into the room. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I demanded. Did you know? Did you know I was adopted? He hesitated, then nodded. They told me when I was 15, made me swear not to tell you, said it would hurt you too much. Hurt me? I laughed bitterly. More than finding out like this? More than discovering they thought I was genetically predisposed to be a criminal? They were trying to protect you, Marcus insisted. The PI told them if the Catalano family ever found out about you, you could be in danger. Either they'd try to eliminate a potential liability or try to bring you into the family business. Neither option seemed great. So their solution was to just never tell me, to let me find out like this after they're dead, to cut me out of the will based on some PI's guess about who my biological father might be. Marcus sighed and ran a hand through his hair. Look, I didn't agree with their decision about the will. I told them it was wrong. But Dad was, you know how stubborn he was. What am I supposed to do now, Marcus? I asked, my anger giving way to exhaustion. They're gone. I just found out I'm adopted. My birth mother was murdered, and my birth father might be some mobster. And on top of all that, my adoptive parents apparently thought I was so genetically flawed that they couldn't trust me with any inheritance. That's not fair, Marcus said. They loved you. They were just scared. And wrong. They were wrong, Emma. I looked into the camera again. You know what the irony is? If they'd told me the truth, let me process it, maybe I could have proven to them that I'm not defined by genetics, that I'm not going to suddenly become a criminal mastermind because of DNA. Instead, they kept it secret, judged me without giving me a chance to prove them wrong, and left me to find out like this. Marcus stepped forward, reached out, and gently lowered my phone. Emma, please, turn this off. This isn't how to handle this. I didn't resist. The live stream ended with a swipe of his finger. We stood in silence for a moment, brother and sister, surrounded by the remnants of our parents' secret fears. What happens now? I finally asked. Now we talk, Marcus said. Really talk. And then I'm going to call the lawyer and change the terms of the will. Half of everything is yours, Emma. It always should have been. Can you do that? It's mine now, right? So I can do whatever I want with it. And what I want is for my sister to have her fair share. I felt tears spring to my eyes for the first time since the live stream began. But what about my criminal tendencies? I asked, only half joking. Marcus smiled sadly. If you turn to a life of crime, I guess I'll have to visit you in prison. But I'm betting on you being exactly who you've always been. Stubborn, impulsive sometimes, but a good person. Nothing in that report changes who you are, Emma. As we left the office together, I thought about all the viewers who had witnessed my family drama unfold in real time. I'd gone online seeking validation, wanting the world to witness the injustice. Instead, I'd found something I hadn't expected. The truth about my origins, yes, but also a brother who saw me for who I really was, not who our parents had feared I might become. The next day, the will reading and Aunt Emma's revenge were trending on social media. Clips from my live stream had been shared thousands of times. Strangers were debating the ethics of my parents' decision, the morality of my public response, the likelihood of the PI's conclusions. But as Marcus and I sat with a new lawyer, drafting documents to split our parents' estate equally between us, I realized something important. The opinions of strangers didn't matter. What mattered was that after 32 years of living a life built on secrets, I finally knew the truth. and knowing the truth, however painful, was better than living with lies. As for the Catalano connection, I don't know if it's true. Maybe someday I'll hire my own PI to find out for sure. Or maybe I'll let that sleeping dog lie. After all, I know who I am now. I'm Emma Winters, adopted daughter of Margaret and Robert, sister of Marcus, and my own person, not defined by genetics or anyone else's fears about who I might become. The live stream had been impulsive and maybe not my finest moment, but it had forced the truth into the light, and sometimes that's exactly what family secrets need.